Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to a new video on our channel Fuzzy Garms. Firstly, massive apology for the fact we haven't really uploaded recently. If you are one of my guys that watches my FIFA videos, you will know that I've been very unwell recently. But if you don't watch the FIFA videos, here's an update for you guys as to where I'm currently at. So, those of you who don't know, I have a disease called Crohn's disease. It's basically where my immune system attacks my digestive system and it can cause big problems. We have flares. Where it's worse, and I'm in the middle of probably the biggest flare I've ever had. But we also have stages where it's fine, and that's what we call remission. But this flare's been extremely bad. I've dropped nearly 2 stone in weight in I think about 6 weeks. The weight loss is slowing down, but that's because I'm on lots of stuff to pump up calories with like milkshakes and stuff like that, which are not pleasant, and on a lot of tablets to try and sort that out. But at the moment, we are just taking things day by day in terms of how we do things, and so I've had to rest up for a little while, take a little break to make sure that I'm not overdoing myself. I feel like we're slowly but surely getting better, but it is taking a long time. But that's why there's been no content on this channel since recently. So yeah, just an update for you guys as to where that's sort of been. I don't need sympathy or anything like that. I just more to let you guys know and to say I'm sorry for the fact there's been a lack of content. However, in the time that we've been away and I've been unwell, the Depop store has grown massively. We're nearly at 10,000 followers there now. We're selling a lot of items all the time. People coming back to us because they see what we do and they know that we're reliable. We send our items off relatively quickly. They get them. The Depop's growing very, very quickly. I think at the moment we're in the top 3,000 sellers in the world on Depop, something in that region, which is awesome for Depop that's not been going for too long. We're also now starting to branch out because people are coming to us specifically asking us to look out for items, pick up items, or people that just know they bought from us before elsewhere from somewhere different, and then we get an item, we can say to them, listen, we've got this item, and they then go, yep, cool, perfect, I'd love it, and they buy it off us. We're starting to get contacts within sort of the vintage clothing business. We've now got a supplier we sort of work with. We're looking for more suppliers to keep growing the business, and hopefully the long-term aim and ambition is to make this one of the biggest vintage places to go. But obviously, I told you this before, we don't just sell vintage clothing. It was also simplistically a second-hand clothing sort of get-up, I guess, a setup. And that's vitally important to us because one of the main reasons I started doing this was, number one, I discovered that the brands I like, I could buy them cheaper from Depop, from second-hand, from friends even. But also because fashion as it stands right now is not sustainable. The way that we have, I guess, I guess it's called the throwaway culture is what I would call it, whereby you wear something once, twice, 3 times, it ends up in the trash, and then it ends up in landfill. For me, I want to try. We wanted to try and change that mentality. And so, if you're looking at what I'm wearing right now, this is secondhand. My jeans are secondhand. My shoes aren't. It's the only thing I probably draw the line at is my shoes. I need them to be like nice and comfortable and not too worn out. With that in mind, September is sustainable. I think it's sustainable September. I think that's what they're doing. It's a thing that Oxfam have launched as a initiative. So I would encourage you to go and check out your local charity shops. Go and check out your local car boots. Go and check out Depop, and not just us, but everyone. Have a look at what you can get for your money and just try and buy into it and just see the difference in your wallet, but also the difference you're making to the environment, to the planet. We have, like, what we send our Garms in, it's sustainable packaging, it's recycled packaging. We try and do as much as we can to try and limit our impact on the environment. There is going to be a video talking specifically about fast fashion and how fashion is impacting the environment. I'm going to be bringing that out at some point this week. But let's talk about the Depop itself. So yeah, I want to give you guys a few tips as to how we've been growing our Depop. A few things that some people frown upon, but I'm going to be blunt with you. You have to do it. One of the most important things you have to understand about Depop is you have to be a slave to the algorithm. That's the same for anything at all. So that's the same for YouTube. That's the same for Twitch, where I stream my FIFA content. It is the same for most things online in this world. And the algorithm is vitally, vitally important. And we found a way that we think works for us with the Depop algorithm. So the first thing to talk about is how to gain followers. It is tedious. Now, you can try and gain followers organically, and we do some of that as well. So we put posts onto Instagram, we put posts onto Twitter, and then we put posts onto Depop, like we list our items. And for us, we call it the cycle, and what we do is we always point back to our Depop and say, come and check us out. The reason we do that, that person that comes and follows us randomly from Instagram, from YouTube, some of you come over from YouTube, let us know you've done that. If you do come over from YouTube, you get a discount. But there might not be anything in that store that they like there and then. But in 2 weeks' time, we might pick up an item and they go, I really want that, and they buy it, and that's great. The problem with that, I think it's too slow. At the speed at which we buy and sell, we needed to get numbers in. And so bluntly, what we do is we follow loads of people who then follow us back, basically. That's what we do. We then unfollow people that tend to, we look at their pages and think, right, you're quite inactive. We unfollow those, keep the people that are active followed, and we repeat that process. And it keeps happening and happening and happening. But our store's getting big enough now that we're just picking up followers all the time. Every day I go into my Depop and there's another 50 to 100 followers coming in and viewing our items. So that's great. That's how you get followers. Now the problem is how they see your Garms. And what we used to do was we used to list all our Garms at once. So say we went to a car boot sale and picked up 15 items, we would list every single Garm at the exact same time and get them up. And to us, that did not work. Doesn't mean we didn't make sales. We did make sales. But what it meant was that when all those Garms go up into one place on Depop, they go up at the same time and then they get pushed down as more people list their items up throughout the day. So if someone's on at that point, they see our items, they might go, right, I really like that Champion t-shirt, I'm going to buy that. Great, that's brilliant. What we actually realised was better was to list our items throughout the coming days. So yes, it means that some of our items are sat not being sold at that time, but what it meant was that if we listed up a decent item, people would go onto that item, then they'd click through to our page. And then we started to see people coming through to our page and buying 3, 4, 5 items at a time. We've been sending things to Germany, to Sweden, to America, I think at one point. I think we sent, was it Liverpool shirts we sent to America at one point? And so we realised that when we get loads of items, we need to list them one at a time. So we might list one an hour, one every couple of hours. And that has been extremely effective in terms of getting sales through the doors. It's been massively, massively effective. And so I would advise that. I'd advise to make sure you're following, unfollowing, doing that sort of stuff. Keep the people followed that are actually active and decent, because number one, it's good to network with people. We get talking to loads of sellers. Number two, they could be customers. But number three, sometimes we see items on Depop that we want ourselves, or that someone's selling too cheap that we can sell them for more to somebody that we know. But I keep the active people followed. I really would do that. I think it's smart. But listing your Garms, like specifically one at a time, maybe 2 at a time, is the way forward. It is the most effective thing to do. And staying on Depop all the time, checking out Depop, checking out prices, checking out what's selling. In a minute, we'll run through the stuff that's really selling well at the moment. But being on Depop, active, and just doing your research and looking at it, month on month, our sales are growing. We started the first month, I think, making like 50 quid. That went to 100, then it's gone to sort of like 300, then to 500. And it just keeps growing. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. We've now built up relationships with suppliers. The vintage shop we go to, we went there yesterday, we picked up a couple of bits, and then she pulled out something she knew we'd like, brought it to us. For us, it'll be an easy sell. And so that's been massively important to us. What is selling well at the moment? Well, first we'll talk about brands. You guys know Nike. I've told you a million one times, Nike. It's doing extremely well this year. This time last year, it was Adidas, which was doing incredibly well. Adidas still does well. It does do well, Adidas. But Nike is the one right now, especially old vintage Nike. We picked up a jumper recently for £2.50. We then sold it on for 40 quid. Nike's doing extremely well. You're going to see a car boot video coming out soon. We picked up an absolutely brilliant vintage Nike jumper there, which we're hoping to sell for about £50. Champion's doing really well at the moment. It's really picking up. I like Champion myself as a brand, but Champion's doing very well. Carhartt has picked up. That's doing very, very well at the moment. So if you see those brands, I'd hit them up. Fila, extremely well right now. Fila's really sort of on brand, I guess. I've seen Fila being worn all the time. And another way you can realise what's going to sell is just look at people when they walk past you on the street. Me and my brother will just be walking down the high street and we'll see people wearing Fila, a lot of Fila. We'll see people wearing Nike, we'll see people wearing Carhartt, we'll see people wearing these different brands. And then we realise if that's popular on the high street, people are going to buy it. So that's massively important. But the most important thing to learn at the moment is the seasons are changing. So throughout summer, we were buying shorts and t-shirts because they sold easily to people, because people want shorts and t-shirts in summer. We're now moving into autumn and we're realising that jackets and jumpers are the way forward. That is what's selling now. Windbreakers, track jackets, because people don't generally tend to want a winter jacket right now. They want something that's going to keep them warm without it being too warm. That makes sense, because your days are warm but your evenings are cooler. So windbreakers, track jackets, stuff like that. Jumpers, jackets themselves are selling. So we had some Aquascutum jackets listed. We had an awesome Yankees jacket listed. Make sure you check it out. One of my favourite pieces we've ever picked up. They sold while we were on holiday. We were away in Shrewsbury for a little while and they sold. But I'd be looking at that sort of stuff right now. I wouldn't be sitting there buying too many t-shirts and shorts. Do not get me wrong, t-shirts will still sell. They're going to sell, but you're going to find it harder to sell those than perhaps a nice jumper. So I'll be looking at that sort of stuff. But that's where we're updated. Again, apologies for the lack of content. We will be back now with lots of content. The next 2 videos are going to be the car boot haul that we picked up. We're just waiting for sort of stains to remove and some stuff before I can show you what we bought. But we did really well this weekend, which was really, really nice. And I want to talk about the sustainability of fashion. We're going to talk about it in another video and why it's so important that so many of us get involved in it now and start to make a difference. Whether that's buying or selling, it massively, massively helps to remove this sort of fast fashion culture we've got at the moment, whereby things are just so throwaway. You wear something a few times, it sits in your wardrobe, and then you throw it into the bin. But yeah, so wait for those 2 videos. They'll hopefully be out. I think we're going to try and get double uploads as much as we can at the moment. But that is where we're at. Content will be getting hit up all the time now. I know you guys like to see the pickup videos, so they will be coming out. And I'm also going to be looking to show you guys other things that I buy into secondhand as well and sell on, so that it's not. This is going to be a Garms channel, always will be a clothing channel. But there's other things you can buy and sell that will make you money in the long term. And again, it's about reusing, recycling. If you can make money while you're doing that, that's absolutely brilliant. But that is going to be the end of the video. I think Yellen is going to be doing a video. The next one, probably doing a sustainable fashion video. But yeah, so you see more of Yellen. But for now, we're out. Peace out. We'll see you in the next video.